Welcome to the IDP Hunter podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hungarter. You guys know me on Twitter as the IDP Hunter. I'm a writer over at the Fantasy Six Pack and the RPO Network and the IDP Center. I'm also an ECR Ranker. Joining me tonight is a special guest, Shane Hallam. He is also an ECR Ranker, and he works over at Draft Sharks. He's an analyst and a good friend of mine. How you doing there, Shane?
I'm doing good, Steve. We're getting down here toward the end of the fantasy season, so it feels kind of good to be on that downhill slope a little bit. I don't know how you feel, but heading to the fantasy playoffs, so I'm excited.
Heck yeah. One thing I usually do when I open up the show is I go through the accuracy contest. Currently, right now, I am number 7th as far as an IDP leadership board, so I'm in the fight there. You got a fellow comrade over on your site, Mr. Schaff. He's living the good life, and you yourself, congratulations. You're in the fight there for a top 10 finish as well. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's my first year, so I'm learning. I was hitting you and Leo up at the expo for advice on how to handle this. So I'm keep if you start low, and then I'll keep going up from here.
It's always good. Start low, work your way up, right? I met you at the expo. I guess we could start there. We both play in the Kings Classic. You remember Jorge Edwards? He describes it best. He describes it like Mortal Kombat or Game of Death. Bruce Lee entered a dragon where the best of the best, they all fight. Rich Metello was on a couple weeks ago, and he's like, it's like Eric Roberts, the best of the best. He's talking these old movies, like these old fight movies where every sports analyst gets together and we all compete. And I'm going to tell you, I was nervous. I had Leo to my left and I had you to my right. And I'm like, who's this guy, snappy dressed, wearing a Tommy Bahama Hawaiian shirt? So you already got my attention. You were very kind. You showed me scoring and roster settings. So I appreciate that. And then what caught my eye with you too, Shane, you were in not one but 2 drafts at the same time. I don't know how you did that, but that's very impressive, sir. I got hats off to you.
They also we do it at the actual Fantasy Football Hall of Fame. They also put my 2 drafts at complete opposite ends, different floors of the Hall of Fame. So I have to take the elevator up and run down the hallway. I also am in the Kings Classic College Fantasy Football Draft. So probably no one out there plays college fantasy but me, but we have a good time with that. And then the IDP one. So definitely some challenges and challenging, like you said. I mean, it is the best of the best. And going up against some of those guys and the knowledge they have, all of you are spectacular. So
I mean, just to recap,
like I learned so much. Yeah, Gary
Davenport's in there. Jorge Edwards is in there. Leo, Master IDP's in there. I mean, there's
John Norton has been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah, there's so many people in there. I called John Norton around Veterans Day because he's a veteran too, like myself. We were talking on the phone because we were playing each other, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how this is going to end. But before anybody has any leverage, I just want to say I appreciate your work. I've been listening to him since 2004. When did you start playing IDP?
Yeah, 2004 was my first year. Senior year of high school, I tried it out on Yahoo and was awful at it. And then I've definitely played it for 20 years, and it's been a ton of fun just to see the change of IDP even over time.
But you mentioned John Norton. I told him, dude, you scare me. You're my kryptonite because everything I learned as a kid, watching, reading your stuff. And he's like, oh, I feel old now. But we were talking, but it's a great camaraderie. You're over there at Draft Sharks. You're full-time. What are some of the things you're into? What kind of articles you writing over there?
Yeah, this is my first year. I was a high school teacher for 16 years, and so I moved to the full-time fantasy ranks and doing a lot of dynasty work for Draft Sharks. I do a dynasty article every week, help out with those rankings. I work on the rest of the season rankings. I maintain the injury database there, but this week I came out with an article about Jalen Waddle. So, any fantasy league is interested in what happened with him. I'm a film guy. The rest of the staff at Draft Sharks are very, analytics based. I watched about 10 hours of Jalen Waddle film yesterday. I was just going to watch this year. And then I was like, I got to watch last year to see what's different. And then I got to dig into the stats. And so it turned into a much bigger project, but I think, came out good. I love looking at film and explaining film to people and going that route. So you can see that in the article that you pulled up.
For those that are just tuning in, I'm on YouTube here. I actually pulled up Shane's article. For those on Spotify, welcome in. iHeartRadio, welcome in. Apple Play, welcome in. I literally pulled up his article, and like he just said, he sits there and watches film. So anybody who's a film buff or just wants to know more about fantasy football, check out Draft Sharks. Check out Shane's article. One more time for the audience. How much hours of film did you watch on Jalen Waddle to put this article together?
Yeah, about 10 hours. I was up to about 1 in the morning, which is more than I probably needed to or should have, but that's generally what happens to me as, you start digging in. And I watched every snap of this year and almost every snap of 2023 just to get a sense of the offense and what's different. And so that's what I like to do. Man, that's what even when I was a teacher, that's what I would do. College film for the NFL draft. I mean, I'm really into that, and that's one of my fortes, so it's great.
You know what's funny? You brought up another point to me, and I was going to ask you this too. Like, I go down this rabbit hole of research. That's kind of what brought me into IDP and fantasy football in general. I go down this rabbit hole. I'm like, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? Box scores. What is this? What is, and you just, now here you are at being an analyst. How fun is that? And then I used to play in all these unique exotic leagues, and I guess I have an addiction. Somebody sends me a link, to join a league. I just pick up these leagues, and I love taking an orphan over and just rebuilding it into, try to make it a contender. How many leagues do you have right now, Shane?
Yeah, including best ball, I'm up over 80 leagues, so probably 40 plus setting lineups, which is not advisable. I'll say that waivers is a nightmare for me, but we all have trouble saying no. We all like to play and we want to play in unique leagues and fun different things. And when they come along, and I've just done that too much.
And on that point too, me and Jamie were talking about this because we're in 30 plus leagues. I do rankings on Sunday mornings, and I got to load rosters and then take people's trade advice and all, start sits. I don't know how you do it. So Jamie developed a routine. On Tuesdays, he loads his roster. On Wednesdays, he checks his waivers. Do you have any kind of ritual you do, or you just kind of wing it as you go?
Very, very similar. Like Tuesday nights, I go through, I set my lineups, and it kind of tells me like, oh, okay, I need this position or this player. I'll look at waivers, at that point, and then I do it again on Wednesday night into Thursday. And then the nice thing is doing all the injury stuff. I update the inactives for Draft Sharks, so I see when those come through, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know who I'm starting, I know who I got to get out, or kind of how people are trending. So that helps. But I definitely, you definitely make some mistakes here and there, but it's it's fun. If I would cut my leagues in half, I'd win more, but I'd rather just play in more leagues and have fun.
Right. I would say playing all these leagues makes you a better analyst too, at least for me anyway, because like I'm pulling players up like, who is this guy? Oh, wait, he did do this, especially the deeper leagues, the deeper pockets. And I guess that will bring us to our first category here. Shane, waivers ended. It's Thursday, man. We're looking for stuff to stream. We're looking for stuff to punt here. There's got to be some dart throws out there, any kind of format, really. I write the fantasy six-pack article. I do the waivers for IDP. So I guess I got some IDPs up my sleeve. But just to give the audience some context here, if you ever want to check out my waiver article, I do the top 50 in my opinion. I go deep. I go super deep for all kinds of leagues, shallow or not. But if you guys want to check out what's brewing over here, different formats, different leagues, check out my fantasy six-pack IDP waiver wire article. And I think, Shane, you're the perfect person to do this with because you're constantly in that database. So I guess I'll kick it off to you on the offensive side. If you're streaming this week, or you're punting, or maybe hoping that a guy made it after waivers, who are you looking for?
Well, I'll start at quarterback. I think the announcement of Daniel Jones getting benched for Tommy DeVito makes him an intriguing player the rest of the way. We saw DeVito, last season actually put up some fantasy numbers, particularly through his legs. Right, he averaged 27 yards rushing per game. Fantasy, it's 2.7 points on top of what you're getting. Maxed out at 71 rushing yards. So to me, it's I'm sure you do too. We play in super flex leagues or 32 team leagues where you need that quarterback. If Tommy DeVito's out there, I think he's a nice stash. He has nice schedule. Bucks, Cowboys as the Falcons in the fantasy playoffs. I like him. I also like him, not to steal your thunder, but I like him from an IDP side to stream against him. His pressure rate last year was 17.2%, which would actually be better than it was against Deshaun Watson when he was on that streak of play everyone that's going to sack him. So DeVito, good for offense and for defense in that way. So I like him. I think receiver is probably the position this week. We didn't have many running back injuries. So Nick Westbrook-Ikine for the Titans caught that 98-yard touchdown pass last week. He only had 2 catches for 117 yards, but he's averaged almost 5 targets a game since DeAndre Hopkins got traded, has that deep threat ability. So with Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the Saints on bye, who I like stashing as well. I think Nick Westbrook-Ikine is a nice stash. And then some of the Patriots receivers. Drake May's getting better, and I think we'll have some value there. So I like Kayshon Boutte. I like Kendrick Bourne for them as deep guys that are still out there on the waiver wire that you can grab. Maybe in the fantasy playoffs, Drake May pays off with those guys.
You know what's interesting, what you said about the wide receivers? Kendrick Bourne is a guy owned nowhere. And I was on Joe Bond's podcast the other day, and he was talking about Kendrick Bourne. What did he get, 4 or 5 targets this week? And then the week before, I think he rolled a nut, but before that 4, they're targeting him. The Patriots need to go somewhere. So those are the kind of names I want. Give me those garbage names I can get off waivers. I think I picked him up in the Kings Classic as well.
Yeah, like he's a 14% target share 2 weeks ago, 15% last week. Caught a touchdown. So he has the targets are coming his way. That's what you asked for.
Yeah, and then I kind of like where you're going with this because you post this. I think Bourne's good, and somebody's gonna be like, they suck. Well, you're playing in an 8-team 1 QB league. You got to know your contest. This is streamers. This is 4th down and 1. We're throwing dart throws at the wall at a lot of these players. So I like that pick. Anybody else you got there?
No one else that I think is kind of a deeper options, but there are guys that could be out there like Adam Thielen for the Panthers, right? Someone dropped, he was hurt. I don't know if he comes in and takes Jalen Coker's slot role for the Panthers, but we saw last year he had 103 catches. He's Mr. old 34-year-old here, but can still get it done. I think Bryce Young's getting better. He's thrown a touchdown in each of the last 3 games, so Adam Thielen could certainly benefit if he's still out there. I think he's a nice stash too.
I like that. Anything on tight end? I know tight end's been kind of sporadic this whole year.
It's tough because I feel like at this point everyone's kind of searching, and so it's tough. Right. I think now Will Dissly is probably the best option. He's probably picked up by this point for the Chargers, but I mean his target shares have been over the past 6 weeks 18%, 30%, 25%, 12%, 35%, 17%. Pretty darn good. They're passing the ball more here as the season goes on for the Chargers. We see that with Justin Herbert. So I think Will Dissly's literally a tight end 1 going forward. If you are in a more shallow league, I think he's someone you can plug in and play. And the Ravens defense, is giving up a ton of passing yards, including to the tight end. So Will Dissly's in my top 10 tight ends this week on Fantasy Pros.
I like that. I like what you said. And you said like tight end's kind of like a wasteland. It's so hard to call this year. Linebackers kind of like that, for defense. For IDP, linebacker, it's do they got the position or do they not? You're not going to get an elite linebacker at this point in the year. Linebacker stretching. I may look for those sleeper hybrids, those DLLBs, and I have a couple for this episode. DLs. DL, I guess DL2s, 30 to 50. You can stream those as well as defensive backs, but it's really hard to get an elite DL this late, really hard to get an elite linebacker this late. Surprisingly, I got a couple names for you. I was going to pick your brain. I got a couple names for the defensive line that I'm kind of interested in. I've seen them late in a lot of places. I'm going to start with Nick Bonito. He's owned in 24% of leagues. So more than a good portion of him, he's still out there. Okay. Last season, Nick Bonito, he was he was one of my breakouts over at the Fantasy Six Pack. I think I wrote it in a sleeper article. I did actually over here. So if you ever want to check this out, this is my content over there. But he broke out in a big way last year. Let me see if I can. Yeah, he had it was against the Jets and the Bears, I believe. But recent news, he did some stuff, man. He did a 2-sack game, and then he's on a streak of 6 sacks in 6 games until last week. Of course, against the Falcons, he broke out. He came out in a big way with 2.5. What interests me about Benito, though, they traded away some of them guys. They finally gave him a good role that he can kind of sink his teeth into. No more Baron Browning to worry about. But he's got a 24% pressure rate. I mean, the average on that kind of stuff is between 12 and 15. Anything over 14, I would consider exceptional. He's 24% right now. In fact, Shane, for the last 4 games straight, he's been 20% or more pressure rate. That's tops in the whole entire NFL. And again, you can get this guy at 24%, so.
Yeah,
just the player.
I love that call. I was a big fan of his coming out of Oklahoma as a kind of two-way pass rusher, used in coverage. Like, he does a little bit of everything, and I like you said, that they are finally giving him a role to let him pin his ears back and actually be able to go after the quarterback. So I think having Justin Strnad have such a good season kind of allowed them to use him that way.
Yeah. And then another name I got for the audience here, and I'm going to murder this name. I'm terrible about names. Usually when I watch games, I watch film like you. I do it, I do my all 22, I do my condensed film. I usually have it muted. I don't listen to the speech. So people drag me all the time. Like, it's not how you pronounce the name. So I'm going to try. The Chargers got a guy, Telupo, whatever it is. Tully. He's the only Tully on the roster. Pick him up. I'm not a spelling bee guy. I guess I'm not an English teacher, if you will, right, Shane? So Tully, Tolopolo, whatever, okay? He's owned in not that many leagues. I think he's less than 33 yards, 47% on Sleeper. But Tully is right now tearing it up. He had 1.5 last week. He had 2 sacks the week before, 2.5 before that. What I like to look at is snap count. Every single one of those weeks, he's been 75% snap count or more or greater. And there's a path for this guy. Joey Bosa isn't a bill of health. Mac's been injured. Between one of those guys, he's got a role every single week. So here's where it gets a little hot takey, a little spicy, though, too, Shane. You can argue he's been the best defensive lineman because Mac's not on the field and Bosa's been in and out of lineups. So give me some Tuli Tolupuo, however you say his name, and I'll throw 2 more at the defensive line for you. Arden Key, if you're going deep. Now, I know he's boom or bust. I know you're, but you can get this guy owned in 13% of leagues. He's had 5 sacks in 5 games. And if you can't get any of these guys, you're playing some exotic kind of crazy league. Chop Robinson's sitting out there. Now, he hasn't done much, 11% owned. But Chop Robinson, since week 9, he's ranked 8th amongst all edge rushers. He's been putting up 15 pressures, 23.1% pressure rate. Eventually, it's only a matter of time if playing the odds. He's going to get home. But those are quite a few names this podcast that I can give you, and they're all on people's waivers, and they have the DL2, DL1 upside.
Yeah, I love the Arden Key call. Not only does he have the 5 sacks over his past 5 games, but 8 hits at that. I mean, he got 2 hits on the Bills, who give up the least amount of sacks in the league. Beat the average against the Lions. He had 2 sacks against the Lions. They don't give up 2 sacks a game. So I really like that. And the Texans are giving up 4+ sacks, 3 of their last 4 opponents. So I think he's going to get in there again. I mean, this is a great week if you can pick him up to play him. And then I'll comment on Tuli Tuapalatu. Once again, I'm an NFL draft guy. That's what I do in the offseason. So watched a lot of him at USC. He started his career as a defensive tackle, then moved to D-end, and now is playing that kind of stand-up role. I think it just makes him such a unique weapon with his size and ability that it's hard to keep off the field. And I think, like you said, he's kind of been the best and most consistent passer there for the Chargers.
Right. Now, I pulled up on a screen for people that want to kind of follow my content. I write over on Leo's site, Master IDP. I write for the RPO Football Network as well. I do an article, Shane, called the Every Down Linebacker. I do it every week. I kind of just feature all the linebacker rotations, what we got going on. I put all the stats out there, stuff that I find useful. So I kind of peruse the league and I kind of write which ones that I find are interesting. Not a whole lot going on, just a couple developments. I'm going to go over a couple names real quick with you. We all know who Jerome Baker is. Okay, I'm pretty sure he hit waivers in a lot of places. I don't see him not being owned, but at the time of my writing, he was only owned in 33% of leagues. He's going to probably get usage, at least early on. Even if he's not that great, he's not statistically a great tackler. Usually he's usually an edge player, but now that Jack Gibbons is out, he's the next man up. He got a shot last week, 84.9% usage. Okay. He delivered 8 tackles. Jerome Baker's a guy that's going to get used. You may catch your league sleeping. He may be out there. And then of course, the other guy I wanted to mention here, Malcolm Rodrigo over there at Hard Knocks. The Lions need a guy now that Alex Anzalone's out, right? And it's going to be Jack Campbell and it's going to be Alex Anzalone. The only thing I want to caution the audience on, people look at snap count a lot. And it's great. I applaud you. A lot of Malcolm's snaps were coming off the edge. Jack Campbell transitioned right in and he played the Alex Anzalone role. So it's my opinion because we don't know. We really don't know how this is going to turn out. But when the big three were playing, Jack Campbell got 93.8% of snaps. Malcolm Rodriguez got 89.6. Alex, before he got hurt, got 41.7. As soon as he broke his arm, though, owners were looking at this too. Maybe he's finished for the year. But he was already 20 plays in. Rodriguez had 18 over on the edge. Campbell had 16 on, in the sweet spot in the middle. So I think that's how it's going to go. IDP community, we're kind of split right now, but I think it's Campbell. I think it's Campbell 1, Rodriguez 2, and then they got a lot of rotational players in there, and they just recently signed David Long. I'm not really interested in those guys, but I'm interested in Campbell. Obviously, he's probably not going to be a pickup anywhere, but I'm interested in Malcolm Rodriguez and see where that goes. Don't have a lot of linebackers this week. Any thoughts? Any other guys you're looking at, Shane?
No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, probably the only I think what you mentioned with the Titans too, with Gibbons out, it's I think that's a situation to exploit. I mean, Kenneth Murray's still out there in some leagues too. He's definitely, him and Baker, I think both are guys that worth a double check on.
Right. And then I guess for our final category here, we're talking about defensive backs. I don't know how you are. I hate these guys, Shane. I hate them. They're literal dart throws every single week. Good luck. I don't know how you play, but I'll tell you what I do. In fact, this is another article I write. I write the box snap usage. So I call it a safety dance because I'm trying to be witty with my writing here. So you could dance if you want to. You can leave this world behind. So if your friends don't play IDP, they're no friends of mine, okay? So this is the article I write, Shane, and, I kind of put all the box snaps out there, all the ones that, I think are relevant, and I do it weekly. Like I said, it's a newer article, something I do here, right? And, just pulling the data, looking at it. There's a couple players that I come across. They may not be in that box. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say Derwin James is a good pickup. Cammy Hamler's a good pickup. What about the guy in the free spot? So if you're playing in deep enough leagues, there are some good developments that have happened in recent weeks. So I'm just going to give you a couple dart throws. Maybe they're out there, maybe they're not. But the Baltimore Ravens, they have Kyle Hamilton in the box with the other 2 linebackers that are pretty much full-time. Okay, Roquan Smith, who may or may not be hurt. If he is, Malik Harrison jumps right in there. There's a streamer for you. Trenton Simpson jumps in there, but Hamilton's usually with those guys. There's another player back there, okay, because Hamilton plays every snap. Marcus Williams, he only got the 1 snap that Hamilton plays, so he seems to be his replacement. The news this week, Shane, Eddie Jackson didn't even play. In fact, he didn't even suit up this week. There's another player there, Ardarius Washington. He stepped up in a 100% role, but he's playing way the heck back. He's playing free. But for players, I don't know. I look for that 90%, 100% mark for a defensive back because I'm literally gambling every week. He's playing out of those 100% snaps. He's playing 66% out deep. If you need a player and you're punting the position, he's available. He's available almost everywhere. And I'll throw one more at you. Kamren Curl, he's had some great weeks recently, Kamren Curl. 2 weeks ago, he had a 103-yard fumble return, intercept return for a touchdown, and he's only logging 55.3% of the snaps right now. So this is more of a guy on my radar. But when he gets out there, he's impressive. When he's out there, he's knocking out plays, he's making tackles, he's receiving, he's gaining the trust of the coach, is what I should say. Given the fact that linebacker core is so sketchy each week, given the fact that the Rams are playing a lot more 3-down type of players, for a 3 safety type of players, I can see Curl and Lake keeping their 100% snap count going, but I can see Kitchens coming in there making a name for himself. Any thoughts there, Shane?
Well, I think the Rams situation is really interesting because Kitchens has that big playability, right? I mean, he's not the most athletic safety, but he has that ball hawk skill, and I think the Rams are at a point where they're like, we kind of need that on the field. I love Kamren Curl. I start him in some deeper leagues where I have to, but Ardarius Washington hits our top 30 DBs this week. You know, the Chargers have led the league since their bye in 20-plus yard plays, so that deep safety this week is going to be challenged. And I think that's going to really help Ardarius Washington get some tackles, maybe have a shot at a pick. I think this is the week to play him if you pick him up.
Heck yeah, I like that take. Yeah, so and again, these are names we're shooting out there. It depends on the context of the league. I don't mind playing a player who plays way back, because the statistics on box or whatever, it's all luck anyway where they're going to go. I like to just gamble. I like to shoot. I like to pick my shots. Like, for example, right now, the Jaguars, Fusay Olakun, okay? He's playing 16% of his snaps over at the edge now instead of that premium sweet spot he used to. What does that mean? Tackle efficiency is going to go down a little bit, right? Average efficiency for an edge defender is a little bit different than for a tackle. So I just expect that. I anticipate that. But I'll still play these guys, especially for the topic we're talking about. We're talking about streamers. Sure, I'll pick up anybody on waivers that I know I can get away with, you know? Anybody else that we might have left out, Shane? Anybody thinking about?
No. I mean, I enjoyed your takes and analysis, man. It was awesome. It was awesome. So this was great.
Gotcha. Unfortunately, now we got to move on to the category. Everybody in the next couple hours, everybody's going to be watching this game this week, this Thursday night football game. Any thoughts there? Anything? What do you see going on this week?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the weather could be a factor. It's going to be pretty windy. It's been snowing in Ohio. It seems like that'll be cleared up for the game, but you have to think the Browns are just going to throw the ball. I mean, Jameis Winston's probably going to have to chuck up 40 times a game against the Steelers defense, which I think gives a lot of opportunities. We wrote up for the site about Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's been, a heavy IDP disappointment, but this could be the game for him. Like, this is where you're going to get opportunities to maybe finally make that big play. So I think we see the Browns, with how good they were last week, receiving Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, I think are all good plays just in a volume play, even against the tough Steelers defense. The Steelers are going to do their thing. They're going to run the football and take a couple of those shots. I mean, George Pickens has been wide receiver 7 since Russell Wilson has started a quarterback, and he doesn't feel that way. So I think he's a buy right now in redraft leagues. So I'm excited to see if. I think it's going to be a closer game than the spread indicates and than people think. I think it'll be within one score, but I do think the Steelers have a better coaching staff to pull this one out.
Yeah, I don't have much in that regard, but I think you're spot on with that. With the Steelers, right? They've been playing a lot of nickel in recent years, and they're doing pretty darn well at it. So, with the Steelers, they're not blitzing a whole lot this year. I think the blitz rate now is 22%. So that's kind of low historically for that team. But they're in nickel 54.2% of the time. So they're kind of just sitting there. Where you could attack this team is over the middle. So, I'm not a betting man. And Jamie's at work this podcast. So he gave me a couple bets for the audience. But if I was a betting man, I think they're going to try to exploit the middle of the field, which is where, Njoku may excel, or even Jerry Jeudy maybe run a couple ins and outs and whatnot. Jerry Jeudy last week kind of went off, didn't he? He got the 89-yard touchdown. I can see something like that going down for him. But, yeah, the Steelers, though, that defense, even though they sit in a nickel, they gave up less than 21 points 5 of the last 6 games. Now you got the Browns coming to town. The Browns, man, they're scoring 19 points or less 9 out of the last 10. I know that's not Winston's fault per se, but they are giving up a bunch of sacks, 9 sacks the last 2 games. So, I can see a Watt or, a guy like that in that nature. I can see them going off a little bit. But, if you're going to get this team, it's going to be over the middle, I think. So that's kind of what I see with the Steelers. On the flip side, though, and I just kind of wanted to pull this up for the people that are watching on YouTube. For the audience on Spotify, welcome in. The guys in, Apple Play or iHeart, they can't see my screen. I kind of wanted to go over the Browns defense a minute, if I may. The Browns have been running all year. They've been running a cover 3 or a cloud. Okay. And if you can see my screen, you can see my screen, right, Shane?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can see my screen, that's kind of what a cover 3 looks like. All as Madden enthusiasts at home, they bring the strong safety down a little bit. They bring him down so that way he can kind of play like a little extra linebacker on the field. So you'll have these 8 guys kind of just you have these 8 guys in the box, which means the back end of this is easily a weakness. And how you beat this defense, honestly, is you got one free safety over the middle. If you could generate maybe 2 streaks down the field and make him choose, or better yet, if you can just get yourself in those gaps between, you're going to be able to make some plays. Of course, you want to try to target that, run 2 streaks down the field, and just, make that free safety make a decision. Or if you can't get that, how about have your wide receivers one-on-one matchups with the corner? But that's how you could exploit a cover 3. This year, they need help any way they can. The Browns haven't been that good against the run. So we can see a lot of things going down this week, this game. Of course, we say all this. We say all this, Shane. We could be dead wrong when the game plays. But just some analysis, just some thoughts out of me. I see that cover 3. I think that they got a shot. If I see the Steelers run that nickel, I think over the middle is the way to go against that team. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. But then again, Shane, you can do all this analysis all you want. Then all of a sudden, the minute you say all this, the team's probably going to try to disguise what they're doing. And then those players don't become an asset. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Any thoughts there? Do you have anything that sticks out to you?
No, I think the Brown scheme, it's interesting because they switch between that cover 3, and then they're also 4th in the league in playing man coverage, 35.5% of passing plays. So I think that's going to be when you're going to see a lot of motion from the Steelers to read cover 3 versus man, and then when it's man, that's where they're going to target George Pickens. And when you see the cover 3, I think they're going to lean into the run to hopefully hit that play action like you talked about, it over those linebackers. You could see a Pat Freiermuth. You could see a Calvin Austin, those type of hits happen. So I think that's going to be the Steelers' game plan.
Calvin Austin's been on a streak too lately. That's a good little streamer to throw in there.
Yeah, yeah, a little deep, right? Even with Mike Williams there, he didn't catch a pass last week. They're still using Austin, which is promising.
Hey, I was going to ask you, do you play in a lot of combo leagues?
I guess not. Defense? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's generally. I don't think I actually don't have any defense only leagues. I haven't played in one for a while, but yeah, most of them are everything.
Yeah, it depends. I'm hit or miss with those defense leagues. Sometimes they're really fun. Sometimes the guys kind of show. Depends on. I'm really enjoying these analyst leagues. But over here, it's one of my sponsors. Some people that I ran into last season, been incredibly kind of been on the show. This is called the IDP Center. They have a lot of free drafts, money drafts, best balls. I'm actually met him off of Reddit, but they built their own website. The guy who built this, he actually is a 2-time patent. He's an inventor, and he created this whole site for us in the community. So I spend a lot of time over here. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do over here, Shane. They actually have a calculator, a trade calculator. And I don't know how you feel about these trade calculators because they're always off. This one's the most accurate because it's based on your scoring settings, So, I always use the example, Devin Singletary, he's worth the price of TJ Watt in this one league. Then you go to another league, well, the scoring's different. Devin Singletary's worth the price of Justin Jefferson. Wait a minute, we went from TJ Watt to Justin Jefferson to Devin. That doesn't make any sense. But over here, they kind of calibrate it. They kind of make it work. But I like using the IDP Center. They have a promo code now. You type in IDP Hunter, you get an additional 10% off. They also do rookie drafts, dynasty analysis. It's like 8 pages long, but it's a really cool site for people that are looking at that custom league stuff. So you get additional 10% off. You type in IDP Hunter, check it out. They got a Discord. There's some fun dudes over there. I'm pretty sure right now some of these Discords are happening. Some of these are kind of dead. They're probably blowing up my phone talking about the Thursday night football. But that's my analysis. Anybody who's interested in IDP, check that out, the IDP Center. We mentioned RPO Network. I have another sponsor that I'm running with him. If you type in my name over there at the RPO Network, Leo's also giving people another 10% off, actually $10 off, excuse me. Use promo code Hunter for additional 10% off, full season access. And last but not least, my final sponsor, Shane, I have on the show. I have anybody who's interested in mini helmets, designer helmets, go ahead. I got myself my little IDP Hunter. I wanted to bring it to the expo, Shane, but I didn't want somebody to smash it with a hammer. But yeah, they do.
I will next year. I'll bring the hammer.
They do. Anybody wants a mini helmet, go over there, type in IDP Hunter 15 for additional 15% off. Anything you're promoting, Shane? Anything you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, check out draftsharks.com. We also allow you to sync your league up and get, customized rankings, customized trade calculators to your leagues, including full IDP. So, we have all those tools over there. Our team intel page will tell you who to start. Like, I am terrible at IDP start and sit. I feel like when I make my own decisions. So it's been nice because I'll hook in there and you go to team intel. It's like boom, boom, boom. Start these players. It reads all your flexes and your scoring and tells you who to start, which is awesome. Who to pick up, free agent finder. We have that for IDPs as well as offense. So we have everything hooked up for the IDP side. It's worth checking out. And if you hit me up in DMs, I can give you 50% off a subscription too. So let me know. Reach out to Steve, and he can reach out to me. I can give him the link, and he can pass it on to you if you reach out to him.
Do I get the friend family discount, Shane? Do I get it?
Oh, I'll see. Maybe if I get to bring the hammer and smash your helmet, if you beat me in the King's Classic,
So Jamie texted me a couple of his bet picks because he couldn't come here with us. So I'm gonna just share that with the audience real quick here. He's got a 7-leg parlay. He's insane with these bets, but this is all Jamie. Don't be messaging me in the DMs or the chat saying this is Jamie. So he's got Nick Chubb over the 3.5 receiving yards. He's got Ford under 11.5 receiving yards. He's also got Ford under 14.5 rushing yards. I can all 3 based on what we said, to be honest. He also has Russell Wilson under 11.5 rushing yards. He's got Najee over 17.5 rushing attempts. He's got Warren under 37.5 rushing yards. He's got Warren under 2.5 receptions. And then, just to add 2 more legs to this, Elijah Moore, he's got over 33.5 receiving yards. And we mentioned it earlier, Jerry Jeudy, over 46.5 receiving yards. I see all that doable. My problem is whenever I bet a 7-leg, I miss it on the last one. That's how it always is to me.
Oh, every time.
I don't have much more, Shane. I mean, we both talked kind of fast. We kind of got through everything. I would tell the audience, please check out Shane. He's a night owl like myself. He's on Twitter. We're over here. If you got any questions, message him. Check out his Draft Sharks. Check out what he's doing over there. Wealth of knowledge. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the show. Shane, any closing thoughts for the audience?
No, thanks for having me on. Like I said, Steve, it was so nice meeting you at the expo. Before you reached out for me to come on the show, I was like, Steve was such a nice guy. Like, he's so awesome to hang out with. So I definitely, feel that way. So thanks so much, man.
And the sentiment right back to you. Kind words go a long way. I tell my audience all the time, we grow as a community, we get better in the industry. They keep listening, we'll keep making these. And Shane, would you come back on?
Absolutely, 100%.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll keep making these. We'll have fun with these and see where this goes. And again, appreciate the friendships, the connections was the reason I jumped into this. I don't know about yourself, but yeah, that's all we got in this podcast. Enjoy Thursday night football and talk hard.